All right, good morning, agents. This is Kevin Lauren. I'm the Director of Training and Marketing. And today we're going to go over some really cool tricks and techniques to use on your fall listings. So get out a pen and paper, get ready. This will be a good one. Before we get into today's presentation, we're going to bring Bill Seitz, the corporate broker for Alta, on the line. Good morning, Bill. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, everybody. We're doing well.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and so this morning we're also joined by Raquel Bauer from Legacy Escrow. And so I'm excited to hear what she has to say. But Bill, anything you got for us this morning?
Yeah, just real quick, just going to review the Broker Tuesday tip. Most of you that have been in the business for quite some time probably already aware of the stuff, but it doesn't hurt to just as a reminder. So as we got a new purchase agreement, a couple of years ago and a couple of revisions, just be mindful that it's kind of auto set for conventional financing. And if you're not going conventional, if you're going to use a VA or FHA or private money or some other mechanism, you definitely need to click that box to, reflect on what you're actually doing for your buyer's loan and financing. And just make sure too, and I see this happen from time to time, if you submit your pre-approval letter, your DU findings with, let's say, a conventional loan, and then something maybe happens, maybe their debt to income ratio is too high, or something is keeping them from going conventional and they have to switch gears into like an FHA loan, just remember that that has to be agreed upon by the seller and the selling side. You can't unilaterally change those terms on the buyer side. And a lot of agents kind of just think they can switch midstream and just kind of do their own thing. And as long as they're, trying to, stay within the time frames of the contingency periods. But if you do switch loan programs, just so you know, you might get an agent that won't really mind, but technically that should be agreed upon. It should be signed. And, it is something that bites you if they wanted it to, right? Or they wanted to maybe accept a better offer that came behind yours and you're trying to switch financing. They don't have to agree to it. So keep that in mind. And that's the tip of the week.
Perfect. No, great tip. I always love how you bring real world stuff in every broker tip. So that's really cool.
Yeah, no worries. And I know we've got Raquel for a quick overview of what it means to open a pre-escrow with her and how that process speeds up getting out of the gates with escrow, and it speeds up everything in the transaction and it makes it all organized and ready to go. So
Awesome. Well, we're going to bring on Raquel Bauer. And Raquel, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, everybody. I'm great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Raquel.
Thank you for having me. Bill, you kind of just said everything I wanted to say, but I'm going to get a little bit more detailed if that's okay.
yeah, you're the expert, but I understand the benefits of it clearly.
The logistics, exactly. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, and just bear with me on this. It's pretty simple. Like Bill said, pre-open escrows help speed up the process tremendously. Just for a little, I got one for an LA area, and the agent opened a pre-escrow. We got the prelim, and I checked the Zoom. It's called Zima's, and her property fell into the 9A report, where it was the residential resale report. And so we got that taken care of and ordered, and she just listed it like 2 days before. So the pre-open or pre-escrow opening, we get that open. We put everything in from your listing agreement if you want to send it to us. If you just want to send us an email, we'll just go by all that information. Helps us get that listing prelim done so I can review that prelim and see if there's anything on there that we could try and tackle and get taken care of before. And then we get your NHDs ordered, and we also search those two websites that I put on my Friday emails that go out for searching that. We also search for the wildfire disclosures so that we can see if those are going to be needed for the property. And then, of course, any resale reports for any cities that have those. And then one last thing, which is something that's getting a lot of movement, is solar. Solar is really important to get that tackled right away. And if you can find out from your sellers who the company is, Tesla's pretty big right now in Southern California, but there are other smaller companies that are still hanging in there. And sometimes they have a little bit longer process and a upfront processing fee in order to process a transfer of that solar. So those are the things that we do on the pre-sale or the pre-open escrow for you. So we get all of that taken care of so that when you do have a contract that comes in and you get it accepted, we're already halfway through everything. And it makes it a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more pleasant for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's
awesome. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, that's incredible, Raquel. And I just want everyone to know, that's one of the huge benefits of using Raquel at Legacy is that she's very good at helping you review your prelims and it's kind of like what DJ had said on a couple webinars past, like getting out in front of this stuff so what you have to tackle if there is anything is so important, because if you don't do that, we know what happens. It holds up transactions. It becomes potential for cancellations. And someone like Raquel, who can be an asset to you, can help you review your prelim, make sure everything's in order, make sure the table is set, so to speak. And when you get that contract to happen, it's just boom, off and running. And you haven't wasted 3, 4, 5 days just getting that stuff even ordered, even, mind you, not even reviewed. So if all this stuff is done up front, you are going to have a much smoother escrow and a much better launch into that transaction and probably a higher successful closing rate.
And happier clients too, because now they're so overwhelmed with paperwork that if they do it prior to, and I've had several agents do this prior to, and we've tackled a lot of things, and the sellers are very grateful that we had that communication and teamwork applied to their transaction where it was just really smooth, because paperwork is a little overwhelming for clients at some time.
Oh, there's only 5,000 pages of disclosures and contractual stuff.
And there's like 40 pages of an escrow opening package. So yeah, I get it.
Well, and that's a good point, Raquel, because if you do kind of space it out and get some of that stuff done on the front end, it isn't all, at one time where it's just like, oh my gosh.
It's overwhelming. It's coming at them left and right. Somebody, TC sending this, agent sending that, escrow sending this, and it is overwhelming for them. No,
that's a great point. And I want to challenge any of the up north agents to try Raquel. If you're used to using your title and escrow combined, we would love to be competitive and provide you a quote. You guys are still obviously have access to the loyalty program and the reduction of the file review fee. So another great benefit. Not only do you get Raquel's resources, Raquel's knowledge, and her professionalism, you get a reduction in your fees. So we couldn't have set a better opportunity for everyone to win in this scenario. So we encourage you, if you haven't tried Raquel, please give her a call. She's as happy as she is today, every day.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. You have to always have a smile on your face, because it always comes through. If you're having a bad day and you just need to turn that light switch off when you come in the door and just put that smile on and just make everybody, it's the most stressful, expensive thing to sell and buy. And you just need to have that calmness and gratitude to say, let me help you. Let's get this done. I'll help you work through this. So that's me. So if you guys ever need anything, you want me to review a prelim that's not even yours yet because you're not getting, what you need out of the escrow that you're currently with, I'm happy to help with that and navigate that for you as well.
Well, we appreciate you, Raquel. Appreciate everything you do for the agents. And we will talk to you on the next webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have a great day. And thanks again for having me on. Appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Thank you, Raquel. And of course, Raquel's information is all right here. And it's always on the replays and the invites for every webinar. So easy to get a hold of Raquel, and please utilize it. And I can attest to it. Every time I talk to Raquel, it's just, it's always a happy conversation.
Thanks, Kevin.
Energy. All right. Thanks, guys. All right.
Perfect. Yeah, real quick. I just want to mention kind of all eyes and ears are on the Fed this week. Obviously, we talk a lot about interest rates and what's happening in the financial world, because it impacts everything we do in real estate, and in fact affects other things that are financeable. While once again, we don't know quite. I mean, it's looking like it's almost a guarantee that they're going to cut rates by a quarter, 25 basis points or a quarter point. But that does not necessarily, as we know, we've talked quite extensively about this over the last year, does not translate to lower mortgage rates per se. So we watch there. We are the 10-year Treasuries holding pretty steady for probably over about a week now. Very, very small fluctuations in mortgage rates over the last 7 days. So to me, that tells me that probably we're not going to see much movement. I think the quarter point's already probably priced in at this point. But that being said, we're down about 0.5% from a couple months ago. So mortgage rates are definitely improved, and it's a great time for you guys to share that news with your buyers and get them off the fence and get them out there looking for properties.
Now, great call. Always good to inform your clients on exactly what you're seeing as the expert. And so, great point, Bill.
Yep, we follow it every day, so we know what we're talking about.
Oh, for sure. All right, perfect. Well, hey, we are going to move swiftly into our feature presentation for the day. And so let me just even before I get into the actual topic, Crystal Burns, who is on the line today. Good morning, Crystal. She and I worked on what everybody needs to be doing is sending out monthly, newsletters or a monthly update. And so one thing that I can do is I can provide this information. You can also, get things like this from the internet. But this is an example of what she and I worked on, which is, okay, this is a great newsletter topic. What makes a great long-term rental property? A checklist for smart investors. So it's a very good read. And so what Crystal was able to do was she was able to send out an email. And let me share what the email looks like. Let me pull that up real quick. And so, of course, she put this through her Sierra interactive system. And so what makes a great long-term rental? Oh, wait, I shared the wrong thing. Hold on. There we go. All right, so this is what it looks like. And it comes directly from the Sierra system. It reads very well. And what's really cool is it's just a synopsis of what is going to be in this link right here. So this is the link to that article, and she's able to access that through her website. It's as most of you that use the Sierra system know, the blog feature is a universal feature for all of our agents. So you can just click on your blog, and it'll pull up the blogs that I create and even other agents create. So she's able to include this link and a synopsis of what this article's about. And that way you don't have to, have this gigantic email, that, has all this information. But so two things that are important about that. One is even if your clients don't even read this, they're going to get that little touch that we always talk about. And they're going to, see, oh, Crystal is the expert. Crystal is, providing me with some valuable information about real estate, right? So that lends itself to, oh, if I am interested, I'm going to click on the link and I'm going to see this awesome blog post, right? So super, super good strategy to stay top of mind, especially with we always talk about our A, B, and C clients, especially with our B and C clients that kind of fall off the radar a little bit. That, you talked about, either buying or selling a home for them, maybe a couple months ago or even a year ago, and they're, oh, we're just not ready, or, things change. So keeping those people kind of, in your fold and making sure that they understand that you are still out there doing real estate. It's not their job to remember that you're doing real estate. It's your job to remind them. And that even goes for family members and for people in your sphere of influence, that maybe you've never really had a, serious conversation about real estate. But, if you put those people on your monthly newsletter, they're going to be reminded, and they're going to always know that you're out there pounding the pavement, doing what you do as, an expert in your field. So just wanted to touch on that. So great job, Crystal. And she's been doing a lot of other great things, sending out, property information to her sphere of influence. So really good stuff. And so keep up the good work.
Hey, Kevin, just to chime in on that, you know, these email blasts, while, we're trying to connect with people and stay top of mind, right? But the content is equally important. And to me, this is exceptional content. Like, I'm personally not in the market right now to buy a investment property, but I might down the road. And this is something that I would click on, even knowing what I know about real estate, that's something that I want to read personally. You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's, to me, is the difference between just kind of going through the motions and putting something out there, but actually putting good content out, which is going to draw your readers time and time again to you, and you're going to be elevated as that expert.
For sure. And so full disclosure, we as, a brokerage, we pay for a service that provides some really good content every month. And so I have this stuff for you guys. We are licensed to share it with you. So this is stuff that, I just want to make it really easy for you guys, and I want no excuses. So I always want to make sure that you guys have the tools that you need. And, I don't want you guys to spend all this time writing these incredible, pieces. We talk a lot about not reinventing the wheel and just, utilizing, really good content or really good strategies that already work. So good point, Bill.
Yeah, no. And like you said, there's no excuses. So like we basically just, here's the keys to the car. All you got to do is have your list. We talk about this all the time. Just get your list in order. We can help you with the content. We can get it out. We can do all that stuff for you.
Yeah, exactly. No, so I see some of our agents doing all this stuff, but not enough. So I was asked, okay, so we do have a chat question. Rhonda says, how do I access this content? Well, Rhonda, you and I can have a meeting, but all I do is, you just ping me, I send it to you, and you throw it right into your your CRS system. And I know that you are one of my agents that use the CRS system very well. So, so yeah, Rhonda, I can give you a call a little bit later and just, go over that specifically with you. But yeah, that's exactly how we do it. I just send you the information. I already have the email content, and then, you can link it to the blog that is on your website already. And I know you're one of our agents that write your own blog posts. So easy deal there, Rhonda. And thank you very much for the question. So getting into our feature presentation now. So this is, and we'll go through this fairly quickly, but it's just really good ideas. 10 fall listing refresh strategies. So as we all know, when we have listings over the summer, sometimes they go a little bit stagnant, especially in this particular market right this second. And so as all the kiddos have gone back to school now, and we're going into the fall season, that generally, we do see a little bit of a lift and a little bit more action. So if you already have a listing that's been sitting, these are going to be some good strategies to just kind of refresh those listings. So the first one is check realtor.com or Zillow to determine how much down payment assistance is available. So easy to do that. Just give a little check. That is something that you can go back to some of your your fence sitters that are thinking about maybe doing something, right? So really, really cool to just do that. Just make sure that that you know what kind of down payment assistance there is. Also, of course, utilize Clearview Mortgage, utilize Amelia Hollow, and they can go through that stuff in detail as well. So down payment assistance is something that is just good to remind your clients of. So I definitely recommend that. Also, perhaps refresh the listings. It's not a bad idea to, get some new photos on there, maybe new prices. We are seeing price reductions. And as other people are lowering their prices, that changes the CMAs, it changes the dynamics. And so you need to be able to, be nimble and think on your feet and go back in and make sure that you're following exactly what's going on in these neighborhoods. And if you're seeing price reductions on, the homes in your sphere or around your listings, you have to be able to communicate those things to your clients because they'll see it too. They understand that stuff. And so you do need to be able to, make sure that they understand that. Another thing would be, if you didn't do a virtual staging and, you think that that might be something that would just add a little bit of buzz or a little bit of change to your listing, think about that. It's not a bad idea to, do a little bit of virtual staging. As AI has exploded, there are some really good resources. One of them happens to be Box Brownie. Also, our friends over there at Preview First have really good virtual staging as well. So could be something that could refresh that listing. So number 4 is update the garden landscaping. If there, you have this listing that's perhaps, been sitting, maybe you need to upgrade the landscaping a tiny bit. Maybe you even want to do a virtual landscaping app, right? So another one there is iScape. So, and then, what's nice is when you're doing these little things and you take some additional photos and you add those to the MLS, you add those to your single property websites on Sierra, that kind of, it's a reason to repost it or a reason to, resend that link out to your clients and your sphere of influence. So again, you're just kind of like doing a little refresh, right? Number 5 is capture the end of summer. So, we're in September, only a couple of weeks left. It's, starting to get, almost into that winter, we're heading into fall and, you can start to do some kind of fall, campaigns, right? You can also take pictures and videos of the area and how in our world we kind of go into this like Indian summer and in October we get these out of nowhere we'll get these really warm days and offshore winds kind of start picking up and it has a different feel and so it's interesting to just kind of capture that, right? Sometimes we have some of these maple trees and certain things that start to lose their leaves or they, it's not like, back east where it's like, all right, yeah, all the trees are starting to like change colors, but we get a little bit of that here. So number 6 would be, 3 fall holidays in 4 weeks, right? We have a bunch of different fall holidays coming up, so you can definitely take advantage of those things and use them in our marketing. We always talk about, just reasons to put out different things. So obviously Halloween's coming up. It's fun to do, some kind of a party. Some of our agents do client appreciation parties. So a great idea is a costume party or a pumpkin carving contest or, something like that. Create a little haunted house. So that kind of thing can definitely, spark a little bit of interest, right? And then obviously Thanksgiving is super fun. We talked a couple of weeks ago about, at different times, and I'm a huge fan of sending out those handwritten notes. And we talked about at Thanksgiving, you do a handwritten note that has no strings attached. It's just thanks. It's just gratitude. So that's another thing that's just, nice. And even, you know, um, if you have a listing and you're trying to, and you've been, kind of pounding that, just leave it alone for a second and just do a handwritten note about gratitude, right? And then you can also hold themed open houses. So Halloween's a really, a unique holiday that you can actually do that. Obviously, you can do this, you can do themed stuff for Christmas, but Christmas and Halloween are two of the more, specific holidays where you can really do a theme, right? And an open house that has its own theme is kind of fun. 8 is use Spacio for your open houses. So Spacio is a good system if you don't have the Sierra system, but the Sierra system is a great way, and I went over this last week, to make sure that you are, when people come in, they are, you know, uh, registering so that they can get the information about the home. And so we talked about using QR codes. We talked about, making sure that they sign in and then boom, they're in your Sierra system. You're able to send them the monthly emails. You're able to send them the updates on what's going on with that home and what's going on with the homes in their area. So always a fan of making sure that when you're doing those open houses, you're capturing those leads. Very important. And when people don't want to register, there's a few different things that you can do. First of all, you can say, hey, it's a safety thing. We don't want to not know who has come into the house, right? This is something for our clients. And then also, if they don't want to, give you their information, well, they're not a lead, right? They're gonna waste your time perhaps. So we want to be cognizant of that as well. Number 9, help clients lower their property taxes. So as 2025 wraps up, many people are receiving their tax bill based on prices earlier this year, right? So even though those prices may have dropped substantially, this is especially true in areas that we saw major surges in price values over the years. We had a huge increase. So now they're experiencing a decline in value. So if this is the case in your area, your buyers who paid top dollar should no longer be assessed at the purchase price that's greater than what they can sell for today. So take a look, make sure that you're following these things. And that goes again to, that kind of service after the sale and making sure that you don't just make the sale and then just never think about that person again and just move on to the next one. You want to always provide that top-notch 5-star service after the sale. So that's one way that you can provide that, right? And then number 10 is the busiest new trend for this fall's selling feature, AI-powered immersive virtual staging and AR experiences. So, I'm always a fan of making sure that, our listings and our single property websites have a Matterport tour and or a Zillow tour. So, and then there's also a little service called Room. And so you guys can check out that. Box Brownie's AI suite also now, has a generative AI. So super cool to use the AI, use some of these kind of immersive virtual features. And that's another way, if you haven't done it yet, to kind of refresh that listing that may be just a tiny bit stale. So, Bill, that is the balance of our presentation today. Any quick takeaways? Did we lose Bill? Bill? All right, so there he is.
There we go. It was weird. My Wi-Fi like bugged out for a second, and then like when it came back on, I didn't have the ability to unmute myself. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah. Obviously great information, Kevin. I encourage everybody to go back. If you did not watch the referral webinar we did a few weeks ago, it was probably for me, it was probably the best webinar of the year as far as how to capture business, and it's the plans laid out for you. The roadmap's there. All you got to do is execute. And this is kind of a follow-up on that. This is kind of a, another little follow-up, kind of a seasonal follow-up. I think Kevin's done here for fall and going into the back end of the year, but great stuff. And there's no reason why we can't get inventory and listings if we just do these little things and execute.
Absolutely, Bill. Thank you there for the insight. But yeah, agents, try this stuff. If you're confused or you want a little bit more help, just absolutely ping me. We'll have a meeting. Let's make this stuff happen. But thanks for everybody for being on the webinar. Thank you, Raquel, for joining us. And get out there, make this week a great week, a productive week. And we'll see all of you on the webinar next Wednesday.